Dear all, I'm very sorry not to be able to be with you live today and to take part in this amazing event. I would have loved to discuss skills and skill endowment with you, as having the right set of skills is key to live, work, interact, and for the well-being of individuals in the increasingly digital and globalized world of today, and for societies and economies to be inclusive and grow in an harmonious and sustainable fashion. Existing evidence to which I contributed shows that thriving in the digital era requires a good endowment of cognitive skills, such as literacy, that is intended as the ability to read, write, and understand text, and to contextualize knowledge, and numeracy, that is the ability to understand mathematics and use them in a wide range of situations. In addition, some ICT skills are needed for workers and citizens alike to be able to use digital technologies and to avoid being excluded from the opportunities offered by the digital transformation. But cognitive skills only are not enough, or anyway, not enough anymore. Analysis based on the tasks that workers perform on the job and on the skill demanded in job openings posted online clearly shows that social-emotional skills are as important as cognitive skills. Managing and communication skills, readiness to learn, thinking creatively, leadership, and the ability to work in teams, among others, are becoming a must-have. What really matters is having the right bundle of cognitive and social-emotional skills. Learning how to learn and being able to cope with change are also key for individuals to leverage on the new paradigms that arise as digital technologies further develop and get adopted and deployed. This is true also when looking at the skills needed in relation to a key digital technology, which is changing not only our present, but most importantly promises to transform our future, artificial intelligence. AI talent seemingly needs to be more and more endowed with a relatively wide range of skills, that is, both competencies related to programming languages, such as Python for instance, data analysis and the management, analysis, and visualization of big data, as well as social-emotional skills. And to make sure that today, as well as tomorrow, digital technologies and AI are developed, applied, and deployed for the good of people, we need to make sure that we all now and in the future understand the importance of ethics and of human rights-centered approaches, such as those put forward by the UNESCO recommendation on the ethics of AI, which 193 member states adopted in November 2021. We need present and future generations to have the ability to think in an inclusive way and to acquire future literacy type of abilities, putting people always at the center. A better, a more inclusive future is possible if we have the will and build the tools, including the skills, for it to be so. The challenge for today and tomorrow is not to build digital skills, or not only, it for skills for a digital future to be built. I wish you all a great conference.
Time to get back on screen. Mariagrazia mentioned issues that are extremely relevant and we will also be covering during our panel discussion today. But let me now go straight to briefly introduce our amazing speaker for this session number 2. Here with us, we have Tippi Fernandez. She's the COO and co-founder of Bagosphere, which is a human force development company based in the Philippines. Also with us, Alina Amir, CEO and co-founder of Arus Academy, an education social enterprise based in Malaysia. Thanks also for being with us, Linh Hoang, co-founder of Ready to Lead, an education accelerator based in Vietnam. And also welcome Dr. Jessada Salathong, Chairperson in Strategic Communication and lecturer at the Chulalongkorn University in Thailand. Now, I would like to address to all of you my first question for today. It is about the need to develop digital fluency and STEM skills, perhaps from a very early age, given the times we are living. We have heard it from Mariagrazia very clearly. STEM skills alone are not enough, but we will talk about these other types of skills later. So let's start with STEM skills and your opinions on that. And maybe let's start with Tippi. Over to you. Tippi?
Sorry, hi. So yeah, I'll answer your question, but before that, that's a very quick information about Bagosphere. We bring underprivileged Filipino youth to jobs in the IT BPO industry through a career preparation program that develops technical and human skills. And to answer your question, why we need to develop digital fluency and STEM skills for an early age is because these are the foundations to building higher technical skills. However, in the Philippines, unfortunately, work has to be done on the more basic literacy and numeracy skills before we even talk about digital fluency. Grade 4 Filipino students scored the lowest for tests among students from 58 participating countries in the 2019 Trends in International Mathematics and Science Study, or TIMSS. Um, our 15-year-old learners also ranked lowest among students from 79 countries in reading, math, and science tests in the 2018 Program for International Student Assessment, or PISA. Filipino students' poor performance in basic skills is indicative not only of the state of our educational system, but also of the socio-economic problems that influence how students perform in school. Poverty is still an underlying factor in the Philippines that has to be addressed to make our young ready for school. Our partner university, who's been helping public schools, told us this story that stuck with me. They realized that teacher training, better instruction design, etc., were just part of the solution. They had to do daily feeding programs and even provide medical intervention for students with poor eyesight, as lack of food and good nutrition were major impediments to learning. Thus, while we need to develop digital fluency and STEM skills at an early age, in the Philippines, the road looks narrow and long unless we make substantial reforms in basic education and poverty alleviation to improve performance in the most basic reading, math, and science skills. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you very much, Tippi. Now let's move forward with Alina. Over to you now.
Thank you. To answer your question, why do we need to develop digital fluency and STEM skills at an early age? To me, it's all about making learning relevant. And digital and STEM skills is increasingly becoming more important every day because it's all around us. And even if we don't expose our children to it directly, they will still be experiencing the product, digital skills and STEM skills, as a user. If we are to expose them to these skills consciously with structure, then we would also be helping our children to be active creators of technology. Now, it's becoming more important that our children understand how technology works so that, number one, they are critical of the kind of technology or products that come out of it. And number two, they can literally create better ones to improve everybody's life. And our young ones are exposed to so many content from a young age. It is important that they are able to filter through all of this content that is being fed to them. And STEM skills is beyond just knowing science, tech, engineering, and math. It's also having good thinking skills. It's also having good critical thinking skills so that they can make better decisions for the future.
Thank you very much, Alina. I think we will go back to this issue of critical thinking later on during the panel discussion because that's obviously absolutely crucial. But let's continue now this first round with Linh. Linh, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Galina. And to give a basic information about me and what I'm doing in Vietnam. So I'm from Teacher Change, and we offer the scholarship for the young people to equip them with the future skill, the foundation skill, to increase the employability, and at the same time can make the positive impact to society. And to answer the question why we need to develop the digital fluency and the STEM skill for our children, I believe that Alina and Tippi only said about the impact of this skill to our children, right? But I want to add more on other perspective because I think first we need to understand the past to make sense of the future. The first industrial revolution will follow by the age of the science and mass production, right? So where we need the skilled worker with manufacturing techniques. The second one was of rapid scientific discoveries such as the electricity, gas, oil, telephone, and other. So with an increase in productivity, which also caused on surge in unemployment because a lot of factory workers were replaced by the machine, right? And now we have entered the fourth industrial revolution, the trend toward automation. And in fact, with every industrial revolution, employees with the irrelevant professional skill will be out of the market, right? So the question is, what are the right skills to have for the future of work? So according to the McKinsey report about a skill shift in automation and the future of the workforce, automation will accelerate the shift in required workforce skill we have seen over the past 20 years. So the strongest growth will be for technological skill, which will raise 55% in 2030, right? And the demand for other skills that can be attained through the STEM education, such as critical thinking, creativity, complex problem solving, and other, will grow rapidly by 24%. So in brief, I believe that the STEM education is crucial to meet the need of the changing world, and digital fluency is essential for any employee in any industry. And in the near future, it's not a nice to have, but a must have capacity for all. So I believe that if we develop digital fluency and STEM skill for our children, they will be better to start and roll in whatever career path they will choose in the near future. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Linh. Now let's move virtually to Bangkok, and Jessada, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I agree with all my colleagues just mentioned, especially Linh, already highlighted that why STEAM is so important in terms of developing human capital. You know, like if you want to create like human capitals with quality, especially for developing countries like Thailand and Vietnam and Philippines, I think we really need human capital or equipped with STEAM. I think no doubt to mention like that. However, from my background, which is I'm a lecturer at Faculty of Communication Arts, and I'm also a professional news anchor as well. I would like to give you a perspective from media ecology point of view. Why we need to have STEAM, you know, like mindset, you know, not only skills but mindset. Because right now I saw many cases in Thailand, in Vietnam, and in Southeast Asia. Like when we have any kind of like discussion or debate, you know, many times we go for emotion, you know, not on the scientific based discussion, you know, and that make the problem endless, you know. Like in Thailand, you know, we normally, you know, like jump into like emotion or like even something supernatural, which is not based on STEAM at all. So I think if we would like to have a constructive discussion for further development of the country, I think STEAM mindset is really important. Okay, that's one thing. And I would like to touch on digital influency, which is I would like to focus specifically on digital literacy. I think this is really important for everyone, not only for like children, but everyone, you know, like in the society, that digital literacy is really important. I think we are in the phase of pandemic, and WHO also highlight that not only pandemic, which is important, but infodemic is really important. Many countries in Southeast Asia use the term fake news, which is I personally and many scholars in my communication field don't like fake news because the news shouldn't be fake. However, in terms of information disorder, I think digital literacy is really important in order to filter, you know, like which one is right, which one is opinion, which one is fact, which one is like something that was fake, something that created from AI, for example. So I think this is really important for our life nowadays in this era. Okay, I think that's all from my side at this point.
Thank you very much, Jessada. We have basically already begun the conversation, you know, related to our second round of questions. I couldn't agree more. We do a lot of work with innovators and entrepreneurs across ASEAN, and we always go back to the issue of mindset. So what you mentioned is absolutely something that we are observing with the entrepreneurial community in the region. And also what you mentioned about the infodemic that was so critical during the pandemic reminds us that we definitely need to think about how to develop critical thinking to empower people to acquire the information that is actually needed. But let's move on and continue this conversation with our second round. And I would like to talk a little bit about these other type of skills that we need that are, beyond STEM in a sense. And many of you have already started addressing it. And Mariagrazia mentioned it at the beginning. So what are your thoughts on these other type of skills? Some people call them soft skills, but sometimes I don't like so much this phrase. Anyway, please tell us more about what you think about these other type of skills that are so critical for Asia and actually worldwide. And let's start this round with you, Jessada. Over to you again.
Okay. Well, again, as I'm teaching communication arts, so I think like very important soft skill from my perspective is communication. However, when we talk about communication, it is very debatable, very controversial as well, because actually my faculty, communication arts, has been questioned a lot. Why do we still need this faculty when anyone can be a YouTuber, anyone can be a TikToker, anyone can create their own content? Then why do we need to study communication arts? So yes, everyone can be can label themselves as reporter or journalist or citizen journalist, right? But a journalist or in media with responsibility, that's different thing. And actually, if we would like to look at individuals, to ensure effective and constructive communication, I think this is really important. It's not just only communicate, speak out, or voice your voice, but it needs to be effective in terms of negotiation. It has to be creative. It has to think about audience analysis. Creativity is really important. Right now, you may have heard a term called PC, political correctness. I think this one is really important, and we have to think about audience differently when we communicate any message. Not only like one person who can hear, but actually if we spread it out through social.
I think we are losing Jessada. Yes, we lost him. So let's go back to him later. And now let's continue this round with Linh. Linh, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Galina. So I would like to ask all of the people here a question. How many of you are confident that you are fully self-aware about yourself? You can raise hand. Yeah, self-aware about yourself means your value, your mission, your purpose of life, what you stand for, or what you are good at. So during my experience, I have seen some of the people may take around like 2 or 3 years. Other people may take longer than that, or some of them take nearly their whole life to do that. So I believe that the foundation skill of any leader, doer, or initiator is self-leadership. So we combine self-awareness, self-management with goal achievement. So we have done a research with over 50 big companies in our countries to explore what is the demographic of the employee who have a good performance at work. And the research showed that employees who are self-aware of where they are, where they want to become in the near future, with a strong self-management and goal achievement, tend to have a very good performance. And they also the most resilient ones and really proactive in acquiring new skill or knowledge. And besides that, we have the sense of purpose. So the sense of purpose will create the motivation, the inspiration for you to do whatever you want, right? And try you through every obstacle that you may face in your life and let you feel connected, experience joy, happiness, and satisfaction more often. And that's all come from self-awareness. So in short, I believe that self-leadership it's not only help us to adapt to the fast pace of the changing environment, but also build up our mental strength, the physical health, and other aspects to fulfill our life. So that's for my perspective. Yeah.
Thank you, Linh. I see that Jess is now back with us. Is there anything else you wanted to share? Unfortunately.
Yeah, sorry, I'm talking about communication and I have connection problem. So that's another form of communication problem. Technological problem can be a hurdle for communication as well. While we think that technology, like connect us together, but actually it can be technological divide as well. So that's another form of problem in this era. So in conclusion, while actually I heard Linh, leadership and and communication, can go along with each other. So we can see that a lot of leaders during COVID-19, they show their leadership through communication, like the leader of New Zealand, the leader of Singapore, for example, like they got accepted, they got praised a lot because of their message when we face the crisis. So this can be adopted, like in our daily life as well, like in terms of communication with empathy, not only in terms of effectiveness, but we have to also think about empathy, which is another important soft skill as well. So I think that's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Jess. What you said resonates with me a lot. I mean, we had to completely learn about a new type of communication since the pandemic started. So it was a very, very interesting learning experience. But now let's move on to get the point of view of Alina. Over to you.
Thank you. I think as part of my work, I train many, many teachers and I create a lot of content for teaching and learning. And soft skills, our ways to be, our interaction with others is one of the most important aspects of the training. And what our ways to be in the classroom should be one of the things that is always consistent. We always start off with that. I want to give an example. So a few months ago, NASA launched James Webb Telescope, one of the most powerful telescopes that has ever been created. Now, this telescope is 1.5 million kilometers away from Earth. It's so far away, it's not rotating around us, but it's rotating around the sun. And this is an excellent STEM lesson. We learn about the universe, we learn about light, we learn about how telescopes are built, we learn about what it takes to send something so far away from Earth. But why did NASA set up this team and build such a telescope? Because there is more than STEM skills. There is more than knowledge that we want to know about. We want to understand ourselves as human beings. We want to understand what it means to be a living being. And whenever I interact with STEM teachers, I always remind them that it doesn't mean anything if you're able to develop a million more engineers of the future. It doesn't mean anything if you could develop more scientists of the future. If these people do not understand themselves, do not have empathy for others, they are not able to communicate to others in respectful ways, they're unable to collaborate with people of different backgrounds, they're unable to solve conflicts, and this is where soft skills come in. And I think more than ever, the world needs more scientists, environmentalists, more engineers, more fill in the blank who are empathetic towards society as a whole. In fact, the war that we see at the moment between Russia and Ukraine is how we use our digital and STEM skills for everything but good. And this is a teachable moment for educators to remind our students that at the end of the day, the education and skills you receive must be used for the betterment of everyone. And that is why I think soft skills, in fact, is one of the basic foundation that every child should have.
Thank you, Alina. Very, very critical points you made, especially, what you mentioned about even collaboration with people with different backgrounds. This is something that is so important, in Asia and actually worldwide. Tippi, over to you now to conclude this second round before we move on.
Yeah, okay. So soft skills, we call them human skills. And human skills is my favorite topic because that's what we specialize in. So let me answer your question in the context of what we do. So again, Bagosphere is an online platform for job seekers and early career professionals who want to launch careers, upskill, and develop their professional network. So based on our 10 years of experience, training over 5,000 unemployed youth, we realized that human skills like communication, self-awareness, growth and learning mindset, and critical thinking are the foundation for people to grow and learn higher skills. 90% of our students are high school graduates and college dropouts who failed their job applications multiple times before joining our program. Our intensive four week trainings, just 1 month, equips them with technical but mostly with human skills that build their self-confidence, positive mindset, and sense of purpose. So whereas before they failed before joining our program, after they join our program, 80% of them are employed within 1 month from graduation. They thrive in their careers, move on when they fail, and find meaning in what they do. So after the training, they would tell us that they're more than ready to face the future. So based on our 2021 impact report, our employed graduates earn twice more than before, and they also earn 1.5 times more than the minimum wage. However, there's a big however there. Because we're serving the underprivileged, we realize that technical and human skills alone are actually not enough for employability. Our underprivileged students need the right connections to help them in their career journey. Yeah, that's all. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Tippi. Now, before moving on with the third round of questions, let me just remind to all participants that we will soon start the Q&A, so please feel free to ask questions to our panelists. As you know, I'm sure that you have many questions that you would like to ask them. But now let's continue. So we talked a lot about communities, the way we need to collaborate with different countries, with different cultures, but also with different types of organization within, a same ecosystem. So if we think about, governments, businesses, the civil society, what role have they to play to design curricula? So this is what we are going to discuss now. And let's start with Linh. Over to you, Linh.
It's me, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you just mentioned about the role of the civil society organization, right? So yeah. Okay. Because the connection here is not good, so just want to make sure that I got the right question. So here in Vietnam, in my country right now, each of the stakeholders follow different, I think, different direction, and they develop their own activity and project, and they leverage their own resource to execute the process. So I think the role, we need to have the ecosystem where the government, the business, and also the civil organization can join hands together to develop the curriculum, to train for the children and for the student. Yeah. So I think for the civil organization, they can play a central role in addressing the skill gap between the university, the student, and also the workforce, by understand the need of the business, and then based on that we can gather the insight, and based on that we can have develop the practical curriculum with the participate with from the business to develop some of the how can I say, the case study from the business for the student, can have the practical environment for them to experience and learn with the case study, and to be more active. So this is my perspective. Yeah.
Thank you, Linh. Thank you, Linh. Alina, let's now get the chance to hear from you. Over to you.
Okay. I was really moved by Linh when she asked us earlier about what our mission is, what our vision is. Do we know our purpose? Because I'm reminded of all of my school visits. You go to any school and they have vision and mission displayed everywhere. And most of them would sound along the lines of, we aim to develop a holistic child, healthy mind, academically successful. But we can all agree on what education means. We can all agree on the important future skills, the important soft skills. But how are we really delivering education? Are we delivering it in a way that could develop the child holistically? We've spoken about diversifying assessment so that we could assess the child fairly. But are we doing that on the ground? Is government, our Ministry of Education, brave enough to say, okay, no more paper-based assessment. You will not be assessed based on your A's and grades. You'll be assessed based on your growth. Could we take that step? And if the government say, yes, we can take that step, would businesses be okay if a child graduates without a paper degree? Will they be okay to take in a child that has really great growth throughout his or her education lifestyle? So I think that we need to collaborate even more. If we want to come up with a curricula that is helpful for our child, we need to agree on a lot of things. And it doesn't have to look the same. That's the reason, that's the thing. We can always deliver education in different ways, but we have to agree that the way we deliver it must be helpful and must be powerful for the child. And for my organization, we are an education social enterprise. We work very, very closely with schools, very closely with students, teachers, and the Ministry of Education. It's extremely important for us to not just be focusing on knowledge and skills, but on changing mindsets and ensuring that our children are able to make good decisions and take actions that would not just benefit individuals, but the world as a whole. And it's difficult to convince industry, to convince governments that we should change the way we educate our child, that our classroom should not look the way it is, because it limits collaboration. But we have to constantly try. And we believe strongly that it takes a village to raise a child. We are grounded by the fact that nobody can do it alone. And we need to work with the government. We need to work with the industry, schools, and the community to have long-lasting impact. It's just a matter of, do we all agree that this is how we will raise our child?
Thank you, Alina. Thank you very much. Now let's continue with Jess. Over to you, Jess, if you can share with us your perspective.
Okay. I agree with Alina that collaboration is a key word here. In the past, not in the past, even now, I think many countries in Southeast Asia, like in Thailand, when we talk about curriculum design, it's normally top down from the government, and that make the curriculum, lack of flexibility, and you look at the pace that our world grow, so quickly and so fast, So I think like for example, in my program, even it's like MA program, but we do curriculum revision every 4 years, which is too slow, and everything is outdated already. So I think flexibility is really important. Dynamic, it has to be very dynamic, and it has to reflect the needs of the private sector and civil society. So I think in order to make it answer, like the needs of the society and the needs of the private sector, engagement and collaboration is really important. How can we, like make them engage more, make them voice what do they need, and then we try to answer, the challenge of the society. I think this is really important. So I think the government shouldn't take the lead, but the government should be the one who facilitate, like open the platform and get private sector, civil society to come, and design curriculum together. For example, there are some debate issues like Thainess, like Thainess, Thai culture, or maybe like how to be Vietnamese, something like that. I think that's always a problem, in other countries as well, because if you want to, right now we talk about how to create soft power, how to create creative industry. However, we still, trapped in the how to be Thainess, like that. I think that's one of example. So collaboration, like how to be dynamic, and engagement is really important.
Thank you, Jess. Tippi, let's conclude again the round with you.
Okay, all right. So yeah, the key word is collaboration. So to give you a concrete example, let me share with you why we're able to place 80% of our students to employment after only 1 month of training. So first, our training curriculum continuously evolves along with the changes happening in the BPO industry. We are able to streamline our program because our BPO partners share information on competencies needed for their jobs. Second, we partner with a top university in the Philippines in reaching out to underprivileged, unemployed youth who then receive certification from the university when they graduate. Third, we funnel our graduates back to the BPO partners who swiftly accommodate them to undergo the recruitment processes. Speed and agility in designing curricula in close collaboration with industry, of course, is a challenge for public schools and bigger universities, but it can be done. Now, as to the role of the Philippine government in designing curricula, there was actually a study by the Asian Development Bank that was released last year, and they recommended how the Philippines can reap the benefits of Industry 4.0 through skills development. So let me just highlight two of them, which I think might also be relevant to other countries. So first, they said that in collaboration with industry associations, key employers, training institutions, higher educational institutions, the government has to develop transformation roadmaps for key sectors. These transformation roadmaps are actually very interesting for us because Singapore already has these roadmaps, which provide information on technology impacts, career pathways, skills required for different occupations, and reskilling options for different industries. So that's one main role of the government in creating those roadmaps for to meet, roadmaps for the future. Second, in the Philippines, the Department of Education and the Commission on Higher Education also have to explore opportunities to increase curriculum responsiveness. So again, the word of the hour is collaboration. It requires the involvement of K-12, TVET, higher educational institutions, industry associations, and key employers. So ADB study indicated that while there are mechanisms in the Philippines right now to incorporate curriculum changes to meet industry needs, the problem now is really the speed of implementation because it doesn't match the rapidly evolving technologies and skills needs. Yeah, Giulia, that's it.
Thank you, Tippi. We are now approaching the end of our conversation during this session number 2. But before closing, I would like to ask to all of you to name 3 key skills that individuals need to have in the future. So 3 keywords or key skills. And let's start the round with Tippi. Over to you.
Any skill? No classification for hard skills and all that, none?
You can choose creatively.
Okay,
You use your critical thinking to reply to this question.
Sure. So we advocate a lot on human skills as the foundation of anything that will allow a person to adjust to whatever will happen in the future. So 3 skills for me would be critical thinking skills. The next would be problem solving skills. And the foundation for me for it all is communication skills.
Linh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Linh, what about for you?
Yes, so because we spoke a lot about the human skill and the soft skill already, so I would like to add about the hard skill, the technical skill. So in my perspective, the first one is the business acumen. The second one either data analyst, data management, or data visualization. And the third one either product development. Yeah.
Jess?
Okay, luckily I'm not the first one. Okay. Well, what I'm thinking is, of course, the first one, communication, as I mentioned earlier, and the next one is empathy. I think this one is really important, especially like right now we are going to jump into like metaverse. However, empathy is still needed as human. Like how to differentiate between human and non-human. And lastly, in the time of COVID-19 situation, I think agility is really important. How to adapt themselves or adjust yourself into like challenges or the time of crisis. Okay, the three I don't know, like elements. Okay.
Alina.
Jess got 2 out of 3 of my skills, and I feel like he's copying me. Yes, I agree that empathy is extremely important, becoming more important in today's world. As more children get more access to content, they need to learn how to empathize with different people from different backgrounds. Number 2, I agree with I agree that communication is extremely important. You can be the smartest kid in the world, but if you're not able to communicate effectively, it is going to be very difficult. My last one is actually computational thinking skills. And computational thinking skills is not programming languages, it's not coding, but it's really learning algorithm, problem solving, and putting things in a way that is structured. So that's my 3 skills.
Thank you very much. And this really goes back to I think the final remarks of Mariagrazia at the beginning, where she was saying that it is so important to combine, technical or so-called digital skills with other type of skills, the one you mentioned, really make sure that, we transition towards more inclusive digital economies. But before I let you go, there are a couple of questions that just popped in. We don't have a lot of time, but perhaps we can try to address them. One is about how to help students to increase emotional intelligence and management skills, in particular in elementary school. And the other one about your recommendation to make sure the social influences around students support with the skills learning. I don't know who wants to go first, very briefly, because then we need to close and move on with the next session. Who wants to go first?
Anyone? I'll try very quickly. So I think how you would teach children best is through exploration. So let them explore, bring simulation in, bring real world examples into the classroom. That's number 1. Number 2, if you're teaching students how to have good social emotional, our teachers need to have strong social emotional skills themselves first. So I believe in empowering our educators to make sure that they understand what social emotional is, they understand what healthy mindset is, and that's how you will get healthy social emotional children.
I just like to add one to that. So I think that to develop those skills in children at an early age, we should allow them to collaborate a lot with each other, because the concept of competition, I don't know with other countries, but in the Philippines, like the emphasis is competition, which in fact the emphasis should be cooperation and collaboration. So that's when they develop interpersonal skills, foundation to management skills later on. Yeah, that's all I want to add.
Thank you, Tippi. Very relevant point. I see Jess and Linh nodding. Any final words that you want to share with us?
Well, I don't have anything specific because I agree with my 2 colleagues, and especially for elementary school, I'm quite pretty far from elementary school.
Yeah,
but I agree with the colleagues.
Yeah, I just want to add a little bit more, because I think for the elementary school students, they want to develop the emotional intelligence. We need to have the social project, or they can come to experience the social project where they can see the unprivileged people. Yeah, and then can see, and then they can develop the EQ from that. Then they can start to empathy, and they can see the different perspective and from around the world. So based on that, I think that they can develop the empathy and the EQ. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think it's now time to wrap up. Thank you once again to our amazing speakers of today, Tippi, Linh, Jess, and Alina. Once again, thank you very much. And many thanks also to our participants for being so active, and see you back in the room of session number 3 in a little bit more than 10 minutes. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you. Thank you.